Now the last thing in LVM what we have to see is how to install the entire Linux operating system in LVM platform. See, as of now, in the last class, we have seen how to install Linux with a simple standard partitions, root, boot, and swap we have created. So if you see df-h and slash, it's a fixed partition, standard partition with 15 GB capacity. Now let us say out of 15 GB, 14 GB is used and you are left with just 1 GB. Now you fear that if that 1 GB is also occupied, then IO operations will stuck and maybe your system may not perform well and other issues may also arise. So if it is a standard normal partition, there are some difficulties to expand it. Whereas if it is in LV format, so we have already seen that if it is in LV platform, you can simply add a new PV into the volume group if there is no space, and then you can expand the capacity whatever size you want, right? So this is the reason why we should prefer LVM based installation rather than standard partitions, because LVMs are flexible. Whenever you want, you can expand the capacity. So let's learn something about LVM based installation. See, last time we went with just 3 partitions. Those were root, boot, and swap. Now this time also, if you want, you can go with just 3 root, boot, swap, or you can go with 2 more options, that is /home and /wap. During installation, when you open the dropout menu, in the menu you will find usually these options: root, boot, swap, home, var. If you don't create home and var separately, there is no issue. Automatically it will be created inside slash, and it will take the spaces from slash. But if you want to create home separately and var separately, there is no problem, as there is an option available during installation to create home and var as a separate partition, so that home and var should be given separate spaces and it can be managed separately. There will be no link with the space of slash. So in this scenario, what we are going to do is, for each and every mount point, we are going to create a logical volume. So 1 LV we will create for root, 1 LV we will create for swap, 1 for home, and 1 for var. All of them we are going to create as LV. But out of all, there is one partition that cannot be created as LV, which is your boot partition. See, boot is one such partition that needs to be created as a standard partition only. It is not supported on LVM platform. Now, why is it not supported? See, boot is that partition which contains your bootable data, which needs to be activated first, even before the complete hard disk is activated. See, on your bootable hard disk, it forms something called bootstrap. Now, what is this bootstrap? Bootstrap is a place that contains your bootable script and bootloaders, which is usually kept in boot partition. Now, suppose if your boot partition is created as a logical volume, then normally how logical volume will be activated? See, first the physical volume should be activated, then using it volume group will be activated, Then inside it, the logical volume will be activated. Now, do you think that your booting process can wait so long till your hard disk is activated, then the PV is activated, then the VG is activated, then boot LV will be activated and system will boot? So that is not going to be happen. Boot needs to be activated first, even before the entire hard disk is activated. So boot partition will form a bootstrap, and that bootstrap will be activating first, even before the whole hard disk is activated. And to support that booting process, your boot needs to be created as a standard partition. It cannot be created under LVM, whatever you want. So there is no choice, there is no option to keep boot as a logical volume. Boot has to be created only and only as a standard partition. Others, you have a choice. If you want, you can keep swap as LV or standard partition, or home as LV or standard partition. But boot does not have a choice. Boot needs to be created as a standard partition to have proper booting. So even if you want, even if you try it also, it's not going to work out. If you create boot as LV and try to continue, it says boot is not supported in LVM format, right? So remember, even if you are planning to go with LVM based installation, the boot partition has to be created as a standard partition only. So as you know how to do installation, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to create a new virtual machine. So let me create a new virtual machine. Maybe I'll call it RHEL 30. Type is Linux, version is 64-bit. You know all this process. Then I'll go to next, and let me increase the RAM size to 2 GB. Go with next. Do you want to create a virtual hard disk now? Yes, I want to create a new virtual hard disk now. So let me click on create. What type? We will continue with VDI only. I'm not changing it. Then dynamically allocated, keep it okay, no problem. Go with next. What size? Suppose I'd like to give 20 GB or 25 GB, 30 GB, your choice. I'm giving a smaller size, 20 GB. Let me say create. So you see RHEL 30 virtual machine is created. Now we will go into settings of this virtual machine. First of all, I'll go to system. You have already seen these steps, guys. Nothing new I'm showing you. All the steps we have done in first time installation also. So first of all, I'll go to processor and I'll increase the processor to 2 units so that it may perform faster. Then we'll come to motherboard. See, I don't want to use floppy, so I'm unselecting floppy and putting it down the order. First bootable device should be optical media, that is your DVD drive. Next is hard disk, next is network if you want. Pointing device, I will change to USB multi-touch so that mouse cursor should not give me errors while working with virtual machines graphical methods. So we have came to the settings, we changed the processor and we have changed the boot order. Now go to storage. We have allocated 20 GB hard disk, keep it as it is. And CD drive, there is no CD inserted. So let me click on that CD button. And in the list, it is already displaying last use ISO image. So I'll say use RHEL 8.3. If it is not displaying, then go with choose a disk file and select the file. So I'm selecting from the list. One more thing I'll do, I'll set up the network. I'll go to network. Network is selected to NAT, that is network address translation, NAT. Change it to host only adapter so that network communication should also work fine. So first go to system, change processor, change boot order, change pointing device. Then go to storage, attach Red Hat DVD, and go to network, change it to host only adapter. Now let me click on OK. So all the settings are done. Let's double click on the machine and power it up. So the whole installation method remains the same. Only the partitioning style will be different. So do you want to continue with Red Hat DVD? Yes. Let me scale up the view. Okay. To get control, click on the virtual machine inside and you will get control of the virtual machine. To release the cursor, right side control key. When you press on right side control key, your cursor will be released. Okay, I'm going inside it, selecting option number 1, and I'll hit enter. So in a while, your installer will start. So the installer is beginning. What's the name of installer, by the way? I told you guys. Installer name is Anaconda. Okay, so select the language you want to continue with your region. So I'm selecting my region, that is India, and let me click on continue. It's taking a little while to give the dashboard. Okay, so dashboard appeared here. Meanwhile, I'll try to correct my time zone, as the time zone automatically selected is New York, American time zone. So let me click on that, date and time. You can select your region from the list and city from this list. So I'm going to select from the map by selecting my country. Now when I click on this, automatically it has adjusted to Asia, that is the region, and city is Kolkata. Every country has one landmark city. So for India, the landmark city is Kolkata. So I'll click on done, right? Then you see I'm not going to change anything in installation source. Software selection is selected server with GUI. That means you will have a graphical installation I'm okay with that. I need complete server with GUI. So the whole installation is same what we have done in our previous type of installation, the basic installation what we have seen. The main change in the installation you will find is here, installation destination. So in installation destination, you need to go and do partitionings in LVM scheme. So you see we have only one hard disk available that is already selected. The type of partitioning is selected to automatic. I'll change it to custom to give my choice partitioning. Let me click on done. Now when you click on done, you see it is going to show you the partitioning status. So as of now, if you see, I have 20 GB of hard disk and entire 20 GB is free. Nothing is used. Okay. So if I want to do partitioning in any scheme, for example, you wanted to do a standard partitioning, for example. So just click over here and change it to standard partitioning and continue to do partitioning. Now suppose here, I think that I don't want to do partitioning manually. Although I have selected the manual option, now I want it to automatically create the partitions. So do you see there is an option? Click here to create them automatically. When you click here, it is going to automatically create the partition choosing its own size, root, boot, swap. So it is also a shortcut. Suppose you have selected manual partitioning. Inside it, you have selected standard. Now you want it to automatically create three partitions for you. So automatically it is going to create root, boot, and swap. Okay. Now, if you don't want these partitions, then just click on minus, minus, and minus. So you see your partition has been deleted. Same way, if you want to go with LVM and you want automatic partitions, just click on here and automatically your partitions will be created. So I don't want to create automatic, I want to do manual. I have selected LVM as my main scheme, and inside it, I'm going to create 3, 4, or 5 as per my requirement. So let me click on plus. Now these are the maximum partitions what you can create: root, boot, home, var, swap, and BIOS boot. See, BIOS boot is needed only on a special UEFI platform. So if your motherboard is having UEFI kind of thing, and if you are continuing without creating BIOS boot, it will warn you. So only in such special condition with a special hardware, you need to create BIOS boot. Otherwise, in most of the cases, root, boot, homeware, swap is enough. BIOS boot is needed only in some special cases, and without creating it, if you continue in that hardware, it will warn you. So then you will know that, okay, I have to create BIOS boot also. Create just 10-20 MB BIOS boot, that is enough. Anyway, let me go with / now. What size would you like to give it? See, I am planning to create root, boot, home, var, swap, 5 partitions. So I'm not going to give maximum available space to root. This time I'll give a little amount, like still root is very important. So I'm going to give it around 8 GB capacity. But you see, we are going to create it in LVM platform. It's an LV. So whenever there is a space constraint, you can expand the capacity. So whatever sizes you are giving over here, that's okay. Just be sure and confident that in future, if there is a space issue, you can easily expand it to whatever you like. So I'm going with 8 GB. One more thing is there, guys, to go with LVM. Normally in the practicals we have seen that first you have to create PV, then you have to create VG, and thereafter you have to create LV. But when I say just go with root 8 GB, you see automatically behind the scene, it is going to create a PV, it is going to create a VG. If you can see here, you will find that a volume group is created with the name RHEL. So RHEL will be your volume group, OS volume group. Inside it, you will have all LVs of your operating system. If you don't like that name, you want to change the name and other parameters, just click on modify and make changes to whatever you want. I'm okay with that name. And what is the name of your logical volume? It is taking here. The name of logical volume is taken as root. So under RHEL volume group, there will be an LV with the name called root. If you don't like that name, you can change the name also, but I'm okay. That's perfectly fine for me. So first LV is created. The next thing, we'll again click on this plus. This time I'll go for boot. What size you want to give to boot? Suppose 1 GB. Now wait a minute. What did I told you guys? That boot cannot be created in LVM format. So the main scheme, what I have selected here is LVM, and I'm continuing to create it under LVM scheme. Let's go to add mount point and see what it will do. Will it allow us to create? Will it give us error or what? So the main scheme is LVM. Inside it, I'm trying to create boot. Now when I hit enter or add a mount point, observe that boot has been created as a standard partition. Although the main scheme you have selected is LVM, but automatically whenever you are creating boot, it has taken it as a standard partition. The reason I have told you that boot is not supported as an LV. Boot has to be created under standard partition. It cannot be created under LVM platform. So even though the main scheme is LVM, automatically boot will be created as a normal partition. Let's go with plus again. This time I'll go with home. See, home is a directory where all normal users' home directories will be created. To start with, I'll give 2 GB capacity. In future, if there is more space requirement, I'll automatically upgrade it with LV, because LV is there, so I can expand the size anytime. So I'm starting with 2 GB. In future, if the space is not sufficient, I'm going to expand it as an LV can expand. So add a mount point. So your LVM is created for home also. Again, I'll click on plus. See, whichever partitions you have created will be removed from the list. Now I'll go with var. var is used for keeping variable data like logs and mails. So I'll again start with 2 GB. In future, if there is a requirement, I'm going to expand it as LV can be expanded. So root, boot, var, home is created. Now I would like to go with the last option, which is required normally, swap. Now swap, we must go with twice of RAM or at least equals to RAM. Minimum at least equals to RAM, or recommended is twice of the RAM. Whichever you want, 2 GB is the RAM what we have given. So here I'm going to go with 4 GB. Let's say I'll go with add a mount point. So you see all required partitions or LVs have been created, and we still have 3 GB left. Now suppose guys, I have a thought in my mind that I don't want to use swap as LVM. Maybe I changed my mind and now I thought that swap should also be created as a standard partition for better performance. Okay, so if you want to go with swap as standard partition, then click on swap. and change the type from LVM to standard partition. And then you can update the settings. So swap can be created as a normal partition. See guys, all others, root, var, home, these are all having choice. You can use it as an LVA or you can use it as a standard partition. Now again, if you change the mind to make it LVM, click here, click here and change it to LVM. And finally, update the settings. That's it. So it would be again used as a LV. So here you have a choice whether to continue with standard partition or to continue as a LV. So it's up to you how you want to use it. Okay. All right. Now let me click on done. As you say done, it will give us a warning that if in the hard disk there are any previous partitions, it would be deleted and these new partitions will be created. So I'll say, okay, I accept these changes. Now kdump we are going to keep enabled so that in case the system crash, we should get to know the information about kernel failure. Then we'll go to network and host name. In network and host name, as you know, you can assign some name to your computer. For example, I'm going to call it mlinux30 or whatever name you like. Then I'll go to configure. In configure, first of all, I'm going to go into general and I'll say connect automatically with priority. I want every time the system boot, this adapter should be automatically active. Then we'll go to IPv4 settings as we are assigning IP version 4 IP. Let me go with add and give some IP. So I'm going to assign an IP 192.168.10.30. For example, this is the IP what I want to set for my virtual machine. Then I'll press tab. It will take 24 as a net mask. That's okay. If you have gateway, DNS, other things, you can add it. If not, just leave it. This much is enough. Click on save. So IP is assigned. It's time now to activate the adapter. To activate the adapter, click on this on and off tab. When you on it, okay, I think I made a small mistake. Let me go back to configure. I should change the method. I'm really sorry. Let's click on IPv4 settings. The method is selected automatic. So let me change it to manual. That's the mistake I have done. First of all, come to general, select connect automatically. Then go to IPv4 setting and change the option to manual. Then assign the IP and save it. Lastly, activate the adapter. So this machine is now having IP 10.30. Let me test it from my laptop. Am I reachable to it or not? So I'll go with a ping test, ping-t 192.168.10.30. So it should reply me back. As you can see that it is replying back, that means the ping test is successful, right? Great, networking is also set. So let's click on done. Now last few things what we have to change is going with root password, and optionally if you want you can add one more user. So I'll click on root password and let me assign some password. I'm using a password Red Hat 2 times, Red Hat and Red Hat. Now let me click on done 2 times. So let me click on done. Why 2 times? Because you have given a weak password. To accept the weak password, you have to click on done twice. Now optionally, if you want, you can add another user apart from root. Root is by default created. If you want, you can go with user creation and create some user. For example, I'm creating my user and the password. Suppose I'll keep a simple password, red, red and red. Now it's a weak password. To click accept it, you have to click on done twice. Done and done. So you see the password is also accepted. One more thing, guys, if you want to register this machine to Red Hat, first of all, you have to set up the networking so that you may get internet connection. Once you have internet connection, then click on connect to Red Hat. Now here you have to give your valid corporate ID, the ID with which you have purchased the subscription, that username and password. Or you can simply go with activation key. You need to give your organization name and you need to type the key what you have received from Red Hat to register this machine to Red Hat network. Okay, so I don't have any registration key or corporate ID to register this machine. I'm ignoring it. Now all the things are set. Click on begin installation. Wait for around 20 to 30 minutes, depending on your system configuration. Once it is completed, click on finish, reboot the system, and your machine is done with installation. So that is it, guys, with your LVM based installation, right? So that's it for this session on LVM based installation and all. Now, if you